to mark 25 years since the city was handed back to China. In recent years, Beijing has been cracking down on the freedoms once guaranteed to the special administrative region. Speaking earlier, Xi Jinping said there were storms in Hong Kong, but the city was reborn of fire. For more on all of this, we can go across to France 24's Oliver Farry, standing by in Hong Kong. Oliver, what is the Chinese president referring to here?
Unusual storms that are taking place in Hong Kong today. A typhoon is expected for tomorrow, but he's obviously referring to the upheaval of 2019 when there were strong protests against the extradition bill that would have seen Hong Kongers potentially extradited to China. Now, the national security law, which was passed 2 years ago today, has effectively quenched any type of opposition to Beijing in the city. It's been spread quite widely, along with pre-existing colonial laws such as the crimes ordinance, and to ensure that anybody who speaks up or steps out of line can be more or less sidelined at the very least, and in some cases imprisoned. So Xi Jinping sees Hong Kong as effectively containing opponents to Beijing that have been vanquished. He's coming here only for the second time. His previous visit was 5 years ago on the 20th anniversary of the Handover, and he is coming effectively as a conqueror. He arrived today at West Kowloon high-speed rail station, which is one of the big symbols of Hong Kong's new integration with the mainland, which has unfortunately remained largely shuttered for the last 2.5 years because of the pandemic. He met with outgoing Chief Executive Carrie Lam and also the incoming Chief Executive John Lee, and he spoke briefly, as referred to earlier on in that speech, but he didn't take any questions from the press. He met very few people other than a number of select dignitaries, and he will not even spend the night in Hong Kong. He will be going back over the border to Shenzhen. A lot of speculation about that is that he is wary of catching COVID-19 in Hong Kong, where cases number in the thousands today, even if the government itself is not particularly alarmed about that.
Those images of Xi Jinping arriving at West Kowloon station, and he was greeted with all those, cheering kids, etc. How are residents in the city marking this occasion? And is there a fear that the next 25 years could see Beijing chipping away at more of those freedoms that were guaranteed to the city?
Well, there are quite a number of people in Hong Kong who do support the Chinese government. Traditionally, they would turn out on the 1st of July. Unfortunately, COVID restrictions, which are still quite severe in Hong Kong, prevent anyone from gathering in groups of more than 4 people. So it's probably unlikely there will be protests of any sort, either in favour or against Beijing tomorrow. There have been a number of incidents where Chinese flags were put up on public housing estates, which raised the shackles of some critics of the government, but there's very, very little people can do about that. In some cases they were taken down, but the police quickly stepped in. Hong Kongers are probably going to be more put out by the weather this weekend. There's a typhoon expected tomorrow, not a very severe one, but it's enough that will keep people in their homes. And also, of course, Hong Kongers are not invited to the ceremony tomorrow. As the government pointed out in a press release, it is not open to the public. It is only allowed for a select number of people. And whether the government will actually deteriorate further the measures, the freedoms of Hong Kong over the next 25 years, well, they already have done that. They've already banned a number of media from attending tomorrow's ceremony, so probably there's no further deterioration needed for that to happen.
Sign of things to come. Thank you very much for that, Oliver Farry, reporting there for us from Hong Kong.